Okay, so we were talking last time about the process of tshuva, right? The way it works in terms of that there's even if a person is in the middle is deserving of kores, right? We said because the person's neshama is set up in such a way that it's a link, it's a chain that composed of links. So even though there is kores involved, the uppermost link of the nefesh doesn't get cut off because it's so close to the ruach. So that when a person does tshuva through his words, right? So then he has the ability to regrow, to reconnect his nefesh back, right? Okay, so now he's going to elaborate on this and make it really bring it out a little more clear, and then take it to other places. Okay, so we're starting in the beginning of Perikov, right? In the beginning of Perikov. So uber protos seder tikkuno v'iskashrusam l'idei tshuva. So let us elaborate in this order of the tikkun, right, and the connections that happens l'idei the tshuva. Shekasher pogam ha'odam bechinas nafshe, when the person damages the layer of his nefesh, the lowermost soul, right. Oy afim gorem chas v'sholem shenifseku v'nichrusu, or even if he would cause his aver is caused that the nifseku v'nichrusu, they were cut off. Kol hatesha sphireiseho, that all of the 9 spheres of the nefesh were cut off, mechochmo lamata, from the sphere of chochma, the second sphere and below, miskashrusa, from its attachment, meteirat ployim leimke mitzulois aklipais, and he went and wandered to the depths of the mire of the klipais. Oz, then al yidei vidui dvorim, then through the confession of his words, be'emes, in truth, me'umka deliba, from the depths of his heart, be'akimas sefosov, and also through the movement of his lips, right? So this is an important point, because we say that bechinas ruach is in the right, it's connected to speech, right? But even within the speech, you have kind of, there's air that's coming out, or there's voice that's coming out, but it only solidifies through the actual movement of the lips. Lips are technically more connected to our physical body. It's another movement, just like, if a person steals, he does an avera with his hands, there's a movement of his hands. So in the speech, right, that's what we said from the very beginning, that the mouth is where kind of the body connects with the ruchnius, with the spiritual, right? So therefore, that's kind of, so meaning there's a small connection of physical movement to the speech that happens. So that's kind of, that small connection is that uppermost part of the nefesh. So when I use my speech for admission, for vidui, right? So then I'm using my ruach, but it's also involving a certain parts of my physical body. As a result, right, certain movement, symbolic movement of my physical body. So therefore, me'oirer b'koil dvarim, he stirs up with the voice of his words, shaloi, ad le'ela u'le'ela, up on high, v'goyrem, and he causes, she'yisatzel, toisefes kedusha, he causes that there is emanates some toisefes kedusha, an addition of kedusha, mimenu yisborach, from Hashem, Baruch Shmoy, blessed be His name. Ad shoresh and neshama tchila. First, it begins, this initial stirring begins with the shoresh and neshama, with the person's root of his soul, not even his neshama, but kind of the root of the neshama. That's or what we would call the neshama, the part of the neshama that's called chaya, right? So it begins, that purity begins to descend from the neshama called chaya, the shoresh and neshama, the root of the neshama. From there it comes down to the neshama and the ruach. V'aruach mavik oiroi hagodol hanishpa al olav, and the ruach he spreads forth the great light that comes down upon him al bechina gam al bechinas hanefesh. Also on the layer of the nefesh, mitzad his kashrus shenishar adayin beinehem, because due to the connection that still remains between the two, right? So lekalos ulehoseim, this way it destroys hakoychois hara, all of the evil powers, umadregois atuma, and the layers of tuma, ulehoitzim imaskir osir kol bechinoiseho, and to remove, to take out from the prison of of all of the other elements of the nefesh, v'lachzer lekashram, and to return and to connect them as originally in bechinas ruach, to the layer of the ruach, right? So he's saying basically that when a person begins to talk, so there he connects his physical part and the spiritual part, and he begins to, when he has from again it starts in the, well, I don't know exactly where it starts, but he connects the speech of the mouth with the depth of his heart because he feels bad about what he did. So therefore, he allows the shayrish and neshama, because in essence, because that's his essence, that's a person's essence. His shayrish and neshama, the root of his neshama is his essence. And when he did sanavera, that means he did something that really wasn't in accordance to his true essence, right? So he feels bad. So he stirs up that essence. He kind of returns to it. He wants to come back to say, no, I want to get back to where I'm really supposed to be. So there's that. So that vidui, that admission of guilt, stirs up the bechina of the shayrish and neshama, that lights up his neshama. The neshama lights up the ruach. The ruach begins to regrow the nefesh. Mm-hmm. Okay. V'chein, and similarly, in pogam v'kilkel bechinas ruchay. What if he damaged the layer of his soul that is called ruach, chas v'sholom? For example, b'dibura masher lo tovim, with words that were not good, oy b'shara voynais atluim bechinas ruach, or other sins that are connected to the bechina of ruach, u'bitul Torah keneged kulam, and of course, bitul Torah is higher than all of them, right? V'higbir lu'umas zeh koyach ruach atuma. And as a result, what happens is he strengthens what's called the ruach hatuma. Like we said, everything has its counter side, right? There's a counterbalance. So if he didn't use something for bechinas kedusha, so that means he strengthened the bechinas ruach, right? That's how we say also. Mashal to that the Chazal give is Rome and Yerushalayim, right? Every brick that's taken away, quote unquote, from Yerushalayim is built, is put into Rome, and vice versa. When Yerushalayim is right, because those are two opposing forces. It's just a moshel, but the point is that there's koyach hatuma, there's koyach hakdusha, and when one is not just utilized, so then the koyach hatuma begins to strengthen, right? So therefore, if a person did not utilize his opportunities for learning Torah, so he gave an opportunity to ruach hatuma, Rahman al-Itzlan. Ve'oz gam nafsha eina shleima k'mekoydim. So then his soul is also not as perfected as it was, as it should have been, right? So even though the damage originated in the level of ruach, but his nefesh is also missing out because all of the kedusha descends to the nefesh via the ruach. Because it gets all of its shefa chiyusa, the influence for life, and the light comes through the ruach. So then al yidei acharota amitis belev. So then his regret. This is before the admission of guilt. This is the regret which begins. The true regret begins inside a person's heart. Umismarmer al goydel chetoy, and he gets bitter about the significance of his sin. Right? Ki inyan, as the pasuk says in Eicha, tzoak libam al Hashem. They cry their hearts out to Hashem. Right, so he begins with that feeling of guilt that's inside his heart. So then he thinks thoughts of tshuva, in his thought, because that's the residence of the sparks of the light of the neshama. So skipping the parentheses, and that those sparks, through his regret, right, through his guilt, those sparks go up again to the source, to the root of his soul. To first bring down additional kedusha and light to the root of his soul. And then it comes down to the neshama. So then the neshama spreads its light, the brilliance of its light, that was descended upon it. Gamal bechinas ruach, to also on bechinas ruach, v'zivchei Elokim ruach nishbara, and karbonos of Hashem is a broken spirit, right? Ruach nishbara, broken spirit, v'shoiver koyach ruach hatuma. So he breaks through his broken spirit. He breaks the ruach hatuma shehigbir ba'avoyne, that was strengthened through his sins. Umitaher bechinas ruach hakodesh. So then he purifies the layer of his ruach lehiskasher b'chinas hameshama, to reconnect it strongly to the neshama kibatchila as it was originally. So then, of course, once the ruach is directly connected to the neshama and it's strengthened, so then it comes down gamal nafshay also on the layer of which is the nefesh lehashlima b'shleimusa arisha, to perfect it, to bring it back to its original perfection. Right. So tshuva really is a process, kind of like where from somewhere deep down you first are able to stir some light on the top of your neshama, on the shayrish neshama, and then that light begins to descend, and as a result, fix things on its way. Okay, v'chein, and so now, so if he said b'chinas hanefesh, that's he got the vidui dvorim. He has the words that are the connection between the ruach and the nefesh. If he sins with the ruach, so he goes to the machshava, which is the regret. Right, he begins with the regret, with guilt, and then he begins to break down his spirit and break down the ruach hatuma. But what if his sin was in machshava, with impure thoughts? V'goram bezeh, now he can't, there's no such thing as kores on the neshama, and you can't even damage the neshama, the ruach. It seems like you could cause some damage to the ruach, but neshama you can't really cause damage. What v'goram bezeh, but he causes through this, she stalkumi olov netzoitze zoyhar nishma, so that the brilliance of the sparks of the neshama are removed from him, right? The neshama kind of withdraws into itself. Right? Because until now it was kind of hovering over his head and as a lamp above his head. But then al yidei esek haTorah, this is very interesting. Al yidei esek haTorah bebina yisera, when a person has impure thoughts, the way to correct those is through the learning of the Torah with extra bina, extra understanding, and he ponders upon it, he contemplates it, he goes deep into it, right? So again, he has the ability to bring additional kedusha to the root of his soul, right? Because really the root of his soul is directly connected to the Torah, to the chelek HaTorah that each person has. So therefore, if he jumps back into the learning, and that gives him the ability to reconnect to that root of his soul. And that's where the process begins. So if a person messes up with impure thoughts, when he gets back into learning, that learning stirs up the shayrish of his neshama, the essence of his neshama, la'achizira, to return shetoyer olav oira, that it should once again shine its light upon him, lehaskiloi b'toira, to enlighten him in Torah hakadoisha, bebina yisera besisrei toireo, and the secrets of its purity, umeoiso hakdusha, and from that kedusha v'ha'oir, and from that light, Mishtalshel v'nishpa gamal ruchoi, it continues to descend upon his ruach v'nafshoi la'ashlimum b'shleimusam, to perfect them in their perfection, right? So if a person again messes up in his guf, in his body, in his meaning, in his actions, he goes a level higher to the dibur. If he messes up in the dibur, he goes a level higher to the guilt and the regret. If he messes up in the thought, then he goes a level higher, but there is really nothing he could do a level higher. The only thing he can do is to begin correcting himself through like in-depth kind of learning that restarts, rekindles kind of the root of his soul. Okay, so this is very interesting over here. So therefore they said, Gemara Shabbat says, Kol ha'oinei ameni heishmei rabba, anybody who says amen, right, heishmei, let his name, rabba, which is each different explanations, it's either which is great or that it should be great, mevoirach, be blessed, right? So there are two ways to translate those words in general. So right, yehei, that it should be, right? Shmei, his name. Now, then next word means great. So you could either translate Rabba means great. So you could either translate it, let his great name, and then the next word is Mevorach, be blessed. Right? So one option is let his great name be blessed, and then Le'ol Me'ol, Le'olam Le'ol Me'ol Maya, forever and ever and ever. Right? That's the one way to translate it. The other way to translate it is let his name be great and blessed forever and ever. So the Rabbah could either be part of the what you want to happen, or it's an adjective of what it is now, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So both explanations are true. It means both of those things. That's why it depends how you say. Really, you're not supposed to say. You're not supposed to say. You're supposed to say Heshmei Ra. You're not supposed to say Heshmei Rabba Mivarach L'Olam Memaya. You're supposed to say Heshmei Rabba Mivarach. You're supposed to say it all in one. Okay.
Don't pause until
Don't
after
pause.
Rabba.
Don't pause between Rabba and Mivarach to allow for both of those interpretations. Because if you pause after Rabba, then you're saying let His great name
Be blessed.
be blessed. But if you say it
Okay.
together, then it could be interpreted in both ways. So,
Wait, but we do say it together.
right, we do. That's what we're supposed to say. It's supposed to say the Heshmei Rabba Mivarach, not the Heshmei Rabba Mivarach L'Olam.
Means you don't pause. Make sure you don't pause
Yeah,
between.
that's the reason why we say it
Right.
together.
Right. So the Gemara says, Kol ha'oinei heshmei rabba mevoirach. Anybody who says that line, b'kol koichoy, in all of his strength, right? With all of his strength, koirim loy gzar dinoi. Right? They rip up for him his gzar din. Meaning, even if he was, Gemara says, even if he was, as gzar din that he's going to get punishments for 70 years, they're going to tear that up. And even if he has remnants of avodah zarah, meaning of a sin of avodah zarah, moichlin lo, they forgive him. Right? So such a powerful thing. A person says, Amen Yeshmei Rabba, he gets forgiven, right? They rip up his punishment, right? Even gzar din. Gzar din means more than just like, okay, this guy deserves such a punishment. Gzar din means, they had the court already took place. They paskined, this guy should get ABC. And at the last moment, he says, Yeheshmei Rabba, with all of his strength. Oh, okay, never mind. Just throw it out. Pardon. Right? So what's pshat? What's the reason for such potency for this phrase? So now he's going to explain, according to what he's saying, it's going to be very beautiful. Ki ikar kavonas zeh shavach, because the primary kavona of this praise, who is she yisatzel v'yushpa toisefes brocha, that the addition of bracha, again, we spoke about this once, and he's going to really elaborate. He's really the source of it for it later. The idea of bracha means expansion, right? The word bracha means expansion, blessing. Otherwise, what does it mean, blessing? Right? So he's going to tell us later that the word bracha means an expansion kind of outside of your boundaries, right? So kedusha really means the opposite of that. The word kedusha means very segregated, above, not really connected with this physical world. It's elevated, lofty, beyond. Right? We refer to Hashem Hakadosh Baruch Hu. He's holy, meaning he's kind of removed, but Baruch Hu, but he's also expanded, into our physical world. Right? So he's Hakadosh and Baruch Hu at the same time. Right? So this phrase we say Heshmei Rabba Mivoirach, Hashem should expand himself, right? He should go out, right, forever. Well, again, so depending how he's going to translate. The words lo olam, lo mayo could be translated either into forever and ever, right? Like we say lo olam vo, it means forever, right? But literal translation means lo olam to the world, lo olme and to the worlds, ol mayo and other worlds, right? So from worlds to worlds to worlds, which we, again, in English we translate forever and ever. But the literal translation is from worlds to worlds to worlds, right? So then he's going to explain. So the primary idea of this praise, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should emanate and bring down this Tosefes Bracha, this addition of blessing, V'shifas or Elyon, and the emanation of his lofty light, L'chol hadalet oilomas, to all of the four worlds which we previously mentioned, which are with Aleph, Beis, Yud, Ayin, right? You have that, which is Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, right? Those are the four worlds that we were talking about before, right? Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, right? That's why it says, Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevorach, let her great name be expand, right? Hainu, Sheisatzel bracha, that you should bring down bracha with Tosefes kedusha, an addition of kedusha. Mimenu is baruch shmoi, from him ad leolam, until the world. That's one world, which is referring to hu olam ha'atzilus. That's referring to the olam that's atzilus. Umisham gam leolmei, that's plural, and from there it should come down to leolmei, to worlds. That's two, at least two, right? So hem beis olamais, that's two worlds, bria and yitzira. Olmaya, until the world hu olam ha'asiyah. So there are. It says the word olam 3 times, but one of those 3 times is plural. So really, it means 4 times, right? So there are 4 worlds that are being mentioned in this blessing. Yehesh me'rabba mevorach leolam uliol me'olmaya, right? Vehem shoyresh hadaled dargin shala'odam shoyresh haneshama v'neiron, and that's really those 4 worlds we mentioned before, are parallel to the 4 layers of a person's soul, which is the essence of his soul, the root of his soul, his neshama, then his ruach, and then his nefesh, right? So when a person says Yehesh me'rabba, what he's saying is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want your kedusha to come down into the world of Atzilus, then from there come down to the world of Bria, and from there to come down to the world of Yitzira, and all the way to the lowest world of Asiya. That's what we are kind of screaming when we saying Yehesh me'rabba. We say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we want you basically to reveal in all of your worlds, right? Now, when a person in the holiness of his thought, what does it mean b'kol koicha? B'kol koicha doesn't mean to scream it out. You don't need to scream, but when you think and you realize this is that with all of your being, that this is what you truly desire. With saying of this praise, that through this saying that you want that there should be Tosefes Kedusha, an addition of Kedusha, Bracha, and blessing, al Shoresh Neshma. So first to the first world, which is where the essence, the root of your soul. Umesham al Neshma, and from there to his Neshama. V'ruach v'nafshay. So you are asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to expand in the 4 worlds, but also in your 4 worlds, meaning your 4 layers of your Neshama, meaning you're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you want to reconnect to that original direct connection through all of the links in that chain. So goyrem bezel lehosim lechali kol oven. So he causes in this that he eradicates from within himself all sin. V'chet asher choto be'eze bechina me'elu agimel. Right, so just like the same process that we mentioned before, that any tshuva process always begins, you got to stir up some kedusha in the shoresh of the neshama, in the root of his neshama, and then start bringing down and rekindle that connection. Right, so that's exactly what the person is doing when he says with all of his strength, he says Yehesh me'rabba, he is really doing that thing. He's bringing down that kedusha again, like it was before, and when kedusha comes down, it eradicates all of the impurities that he has in its way. And they cease to exist. V'zeh kol ikar tshuva, which is really the entire process of tshuva hamitis, the real tshuva. Kanal, as I mentioned before. Therefore they forgive him for all of his averas, because he really restores all of the damage that was done through his sins. Okay, so that's an important point. So we got two major tools besides the actual tshuva process. We have 2 major tools of correction, which is one is learning Torah, and the other one is Yehesh me'rabba, right? 2 major tools. Okay, I'm going to skip the next part because I don't fully understand it, but because the ending of it is not clear. So this Haggo, you have a Haggo, right? Right. So the Haggo just basically says that when you say the word b'kol koichoi, it could possibly mean 2 things, one of 2 things, in all of his strength, right? You say Yehesh me'rabba with all of his strength.
His strength.
So the question is, right, whose strength is it referring to? When a person says Yehesh me'rabba with all of his strength, meaning the person says it with all of his strength, or you say that Hashem should be blessed with all of his strength, right? Meaning, is it Hashem's, his is Hashem, or is it his, you, right? So he says really it means both things, and he explains how it also refers to Hashem. With that part I don't understand. It's got something to do with letters, how, again, it's you. It's beyond my comprehension. But you could think about it on your own and realize that it's open to 2 interpretations. Okay, we continue. V'zeu gam ken inyan moram Now he says a similar idea is expressed in another medrash, and that Gemara brings down. Similar idea is expressed in the Gemara of Avodah Zarah. Shor shehikriv Adam Arishan. Right after Adam Arishan sinned, he brought a korban. Right. So Shor shehikriv Adam Arishan. So the ox he didn't bring like we do. We bring when a person does a chet, he brings a female sheep, right? Or right, a female sheep, right? Because if it does a chet, meaning a shoygig, right? But if a leader sins, a leader brings a male ox, because we always leaders sin, even if it's b'shoygig, we consider it, we hold them to greater accountability, right? So Adam Rishon was the one and only. He was the leader and the follower. He was it. So therefore, he brought an ox. So shor shehikriv Adam Arishan. So the shor that Adam Arishan brought, karnoisov koidmois lifarsoisov hoyu. Its horns came before its hooves. Okay, that's what I don't know exactly what it's referring to, but the horns of Adam Arishan's ox came before the hooves, right? Okay, so what does that mean? Who cares? What is the Gemara trying to say? Do I care if his horns came before the hooves or the hooves? Who cares? An animal, brought an animal, right? So what is the Gemara trying to say? So he's explaining like this. He explains because shekivein b'hakravosoi l'sakein asher ives, because he was mechaven in the hakrova, in this korban, to try to correct as much as possible for what he messed up. Live noise and heroises, which is to rebuild the destruction. Right, to bring closer what he distanced, and to reunite what he dispersed. Right, so he first wanted to purify the kedusha of his machshava. Lahatzel tchila shifas oir kedusha al bechinas umadreges al yoynei sheboy, to bring down first. First, the emanation of light and kedusha on the higher levels of his, which is the thought. So that's why dimyan akarnaim. This is symbolized by the horns. The horns are on top of the body, right? So the horns. So therefore, the horns came first. What the Gemara is trying to say, not really how the animal looked. That's not what's important. The important part is that he first purified his thoughts before he purified his hooves, which is his action. So dimyan akarnaim, and so the thought part of the brain part of his being is symbolized by the horns, same shayrish nishmosav nishmosav, which is referring to the root of his soul and his neshama. Umisham himshech achar zel rucho v'nafshe, and then he continued to purify his ruach and his nefesh. L'taher kol ivarav, in order to purify all of his limbs, miroisha v'ad ragla, from his head until his feet, right? So that's why it started from the horns, meaning the highest part, to the hooves, which is the lowest part, right? Al derech, like the parsha says, v'hoya ekev tishmuun, right? The parsha will be because of the ekev. Ekev means because of. If v'hoya ekev tishmuun is a result of your listening to Hashem commandments, right? But the word akev, which means as a result of, also translates as akev, which means the heel, right? Akev tishmuun. So Rashi on that pasuk says that mitzvahs she'odam dash be'akevav, that mitzvahs that a person tramples on with his heels, right? Those are the sins that are gonna chase after him in Olam Haba. Those are his problems, because he forgets about them, he disregards them, right? So that's v'hoyo ekev tishmun, meaning the other way around. If you're gonna listen even to the commandments, to keep them to such a detail that you don't just trample over them, but you actually, you pay attention to them, right? So we see that the word heel, right, is referring to a person that it's referring to the lowest part of a person's body. But similarly, symbolically, it's referring also to the lowest part of a person's, meaning to the whole body as a whole. If you remember, he had that whole mashal, how the body to the neshama is like a shoe to the heel, right? So So who ha-process shel nefesh habahamis. So this is the process. This is referring to the hooves, which is the animal soul of a person. V'zeu she'omar shetapuach akevoy hoya makhe galgal hachama. And also the Medrash says about Adam Arishon that he was so bright that his heel used to dim the sun, right? Meaning even the lowest part of him was so pure that it was brighter than the sun, right? So we see the point over here that he's trying to make is the word akev is symbolic for the lowest part of a person's either body or the soul, whatever it is, the lowest part of his being. And so the hooves in a behema is parallel to the akev of a person, and the karnaim, which is the horns, is parallel to his my thought, Okay. So now in the Haggadah. So the Haggadah is going to dwell a little bit on this akev idea, this word akev, which appears in other places as well. So v'zeh Omar David HaMelech, you have it? Yeah, v'zeh Omar David HaMelech, Olav Shalom, and this is what David HaMelech says: Torah's Hashem temima, right? The Hashem's Torah is pure, meshivas nefesh. It restores the nefesh, right? So we sing this phrase. What does the phrase mean? Torah Hashem temima meshivas nefesh. It restores the nefesh. Now it works out beautifully. Shal yedei esek ha'adam b'Torah Hashem. When a person is involved in learning the Torah of Hashem, sorry, v'it temima etzloi karoi, and it's perfect and it's pure in him properly. He meshivas nefesh ha'adam l'shar shebishleimus. It restores the nefesh of a person to its root, right? That's the whole idea. Like we said before, the Torah that a person learns is directly connected to the shorish of his neshama, to the root of his soul. And so as a result, when he gets involved in learning the Torah, he brings down that light and restores all of the links in the chain. Okay. V'siyam shom. Now the last pasuk of that kapitel, the second to last pasuk of that kapitel, Gam avdecha nizar b'hem, that also your servant was careful in them, meaning in the commandments, b'shamram, in their observance, meaning the observance of the commandment, akev rav. Akev, again, akev, literal translation is heel. Rav means great. There's a great heel, doesn't mean that. It means akev rav, meaning there's a great reward, great result. Right? So when you keep gam avdecha nizar b'hem, your servant was also careful in them, in the mitzvahs, b'shamram, and they're keeping akev rav, there's a great reward. V'nizar miloshan yaziru, and he was very careful about the lotion that he was using. Hainu shal yidei sheshomer kol mitzvahs, that through the fact that he observed all of the mitzvahs, hamechuvonim neged kol evrei ha'odam arishon, which every mitzvah, as we know, exactly parallel to all of the limbs of a person's body, right? The 248 positive commandments, negative, right? To 365 negative commandments, right? They're all parallel regarding a person's body. So therefore, if you keep all of the mitzvahs, nizdakech nafshei v'gufoy, so he purifies not only his nefesh, he also purifies his guf, so that even in the heel, that there was great light, just like we mentioned before, but the medrash of the heel of Adam Arishon, that the circle of the heel of Adam Arishon used to dim the sun, right? So the word Ekev Rav, even though it doesn't mean the heel, right? It really means Ekev, something that Ekev just means because a result of this, right? So Ekev Rav means there's a great result, right? When you keep the commandments, there's a great result. But he's saying, but you could also take it literally. It does mean the heel, because when a person keeps all of the commandments, so then he perfects himself even to his lowermost part. So there is great reward, meaning because he's completely pure. He's completely attached to Hashem because he restored the entire chain. He purified just like Adam Rishon with his heel. Okay. Time.
25.
Let's continue. Let's do it a little faster. Okay. Okay. Upnimius Inyan, and there's an inner part in this. Gam avdechon nizar ekarav. In this pasuk that he was careful. Because the purpose of the midah, which is David the Melech, right? There's a famous medrash. He's going to mention this. That David the Melech, that Adam Rishon gave 70 years of his life to David the Melech, right? You've heard this medrash before, right? Because that Adam Rishon was supposed to live for 1,000 years, he only lived for 130 years. David the Melech lived for 70 years, so there is a connection between Adam Rishon and David the Melech. Right, so kitachlis al yosef shel midas David the Melech b'shor shor eliyim, because the midah of David the Melech hu bereisha lo yisyada really is able to connect to the highest level. Is a connection from David the Melech to the highest level of Adam Rishon. Shu malchus the Adam Kadmo, because it's called the malchus, which is the lower midah of Adam Kadmo, of the first man, whatever that means. Shorish nishmas Adam Rishon, because he's the root of the soul of Adam Rishon. We're going to skip a little bit. This is a little bit above our heads. That's a little above our heads. I guess we'll stop here. But he connects basically that really David the Melech lived only 70 years, but he really was supposed to live 100 years.
Okay.
And because each decade is parallel to one of the 10 spheres, so he only kind of purified the 7 out of the 10, the 7 kind of lower spheres. And had he lived for 30 years, he would have purified even the highest of those spheres, but I guess he left that job for Mashiach, and he brings this down. Okay, so basically that's what we say. Adam, the word Adam stands for right? Aleph Dalet Mem is Adam David Mashiach, right?
Okay.
So Adam David Mashiach are like the 3 parts of that
purification process.
Purification of the human race, right? So that will be all for today. Okay.